agenda.
Motion?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as printed. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Do we call for people from the audience in this?
We do not, Mr. Chair.
Hopefully everybody got their packets in time enough to peruse the minutes from November. If nobody has any additions or corrections, look for a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th.
Motion?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Public hearing. I'd like to look for a motion to open the public hearing for Jeffrey and Ray Ann Berg.
Make motion?
Motion's been made and seconded to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion is carried. Take it away, Matt.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an after-the-fact variance setback request for for a structure from the center line of a public road. Zoning on this property and all immediately adjacent properties are zoned Ag General. It's residential, a number of buildings on the property. The new structure was intended to replace an old outbuilding that was damaged due to a collapsed roof. So seeking a variance to the road centerline setback, it would encroach approximately 23 feet into the 125-foot road centerline setback of 100th Street South. It'd be about an 18% reduction of the setback. The structure is approximately 102 feet from the center line of the road and 69 feet from the right-of-way. Before constructing the building, the applicant assumed that the road centerline setback was 100 feet and provided the following practical difficulty in complying with that setback. Because it's been built, it would basically essentially have to be torn down and moved and rebuilt. As with all after-the-fact variance requests, the Minnesota Supreme Court Statsfold case provides additional criteria for you to consider. The first being if construction was complete. The construction in this case is. If there are similar structures in the area, there are. The benefit of the municipality of enforcement compared to the burden on the applicant if compliance was required. So the staff opinion here would be that the 18% setback reduction is minimal. There's a row of trees between the structure and the road that would limit any impact of the road and the right-of-way. In this case, the burden on the applicant would outweigh the benefit of enforcement in this instance. And this does not, in speaking with the applicant, does not appear to be an intentional violation. And just, I know I haven't really spoken about how to determine whether something's intentional or unintentional. And in my case, if I were to ever come to you and say that something was intentional, it would be like if someone asked for a permit for something and they asked for all the rules and then they maybe did something completely different. So if I had a conversation before, that's something that I present to you. In this case, it looks like it was an honest mistake. Really, the whole point of having this road center line setback is to make sure that we have a accessible, safe, efficient transportation system, specifically for future road projects, for snow removal, things of that sort. In this case, it's pretty minimal reduction in that setback, and there are trees in between the road and the building. Any questions for me at all?
Yeah, I have a couple. So was there a building permit?
No, there was not a building permit. And in talking with the applicant, what it sounded like is because a building was damaged, he could build a new building, essentially. It's not in the same location, but that was kind of the understanding. It's smaller.
And I guess my last question on this would be, so if they would have asked and applied for a building permit, would Would the distance that they needed to be from the road been on the building permit?
It would have been, yes, part of the building permit. Yes.
Would have been brought up for sure.
Yep.
And it looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, it's 23 feet?
Just looking to prevent something down the road.
And if that was building for building, wouldn't it be built on the same footprint? If
Yeah,
that was
typically
how-
that's how that works. Like if, say we've had buildings that are damaged where someone will come in for a building permit to rebuild their structure. We'll waive the fee if it was due to a fire or a snow load or something like collapse roof to snow. And then, yeah, that would be basically rebuilding in the same footprint.
Anybody else have any questions for Matt?
Nope.
Would the applicant like to come up and speak to? I have no questions. Well, if nobody has any questions, more questions for Matt or for the applicant, look for a motion to close the public hearing. Motion's been made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, now I suppose. I have a sheet somewhere of findings of fact and all that. Okay. Thank you. Okay, number one, is granting the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the Clay County Land Development Code?
Yes.
Is the requested variance consistent with the Clay County Comprehensive Land Use Plan?
Yes.
Did the applicant establish that there are practical difficulties in complying with the strict letter of the Clay County Land Development Code?
Yes.
Yes.
Do exceptional or extraordinary circumstances exist that apply to the property in question
Yes.
and that do not apply generally to other properties? Okay, we got a yes. Would the literal interpretation of the provisions of the Clay County Land Development Code deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this ordinance?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the variance being granted the minimum variance that would alleviate the practical difficulty?
Yes.
Does the variance request meet all the below criteria? No variance shall be granted where any of the following conditions are not met. Adequate sewage treatment systems or water supply capabilities can be provided.
Yes.
That'd be non-applicable. The plight of landowner or hardship is not due to circumstances created by the landowner.
Yes.
Yes.
The landowner constructed the structure without a permit or conferring with the Land Development Code. However, the plight of the landowner or hardship imposed by the county for requiring compliance would outweigh the benefit of compliance. The essential character of the locality would not be altered, or there would not be significant adverse effect on the surrounding properties.
Yes.
And Mr. Chair, I think there's one above that about zoning district. C.
The variance would not allow a use that is not already allowed in the zoning district.
Yes.
Yes.
There would not be significant adverse effect on public health or safety.
Yes.
Yes.
There would not be significant adverse effect on public health or safety, as there will be no impacts to traffic or the traveling public.
Yes.
Okay, in addition, conditions may be imposed in the granting of a variance. A condition must be directly related to and must bear a rough proportionality to the impact created by the variance. Any,
Done deal.
okay, I don't see any.
There any plans to take the old one down? Not that that
I think it's
really
already
matters.
kind of destroyed. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah, it's coming down.
I mean, it looks nice, but
Okay. Okay, based on going through everything and the board not coming up with any additional things needed, look for a motion to approve or deny.
Make motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and approved to approve the variance. Any discussion or further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Variance is granted. Thank you. Okay, moving on, any unfinished business, Matt?
I suppose under here I could give you a code update or development ordinance update. So the planning commission in December did hear chapters 1 through 4, just reviewing the draft chapters 1 through 4, which essentially covers everything from just the introductory provisions, nonconformities, what development is and isn't, zoning districts. Talks about our 4 base zoning districts in chapter 2. Chapter 3 talks about the overlay zoning districts. That would include like flood hazard zoning and shoreland. And then the big chapter was the use regulations, so that essentially allowed uses by zoning district and then any special kind of standards for those uses. Tonight, they will be looking at chapters 5 through 8, which include basic, just general development standards in terms of area, dimensional setback, access development, fencing, parking, signs, trees, and things like that, subdivision regulations, and then just administration and procedures, so kind of going over the roles and duties of the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Adjustment, the Planning Commission, as well as procedures for variances and use permits and amendments as well, either amendments to the text of the ordinance or the zoning map, that kind of the process for that. Also, enforcement of the ordinance. And then the definitions chapter. So that's kind of what's going to be looked at tonight at the Planning Commission level. There's some components of the ordinance that would need to be reviewed by the state because they pertain to state rules. So like shoreland would be one, floodplain, flood hazard areas would be one, feedlots would be one as well. I don't anticipate a whole lot of comments on any of those from the state, just because a lot of the work that was done in those three areas was to amend the current ordinance to better match the state rules. So like a feedlots is a kind of a perfect example of that. Just looking at what's in statute and what's in Minnesota rules, and making sure that ours matches what that is. And I know that that's been kind of a desire of the Planning Commission to make those changes so we're more in line with the state statute and state rules. So that, after that, I think there's a possibility that there might be a county board work group session. That would have to be called by the chair, but I know that's been floated as a possibility, and otherwise it would just go then to the board for, they can hold as many kind of public hearings on it as they want. Once we kind of go through that, if this board is interested and if we have a light schedule for February, I'm happy to dive into more detail in February. Yes, yeah, I'm hoping that by April they would be out, so, yep, that's my hope. That would make this an exactly 2-year project, so. Yeah. Any questions at all? This is all online as well, so, it's all on the county website, and should be pretty easy to get to if you just go to claycountymn.gov. It should be in our spotlight. Yes, right here. Look at that. And if you click on that, it'll bring you to this page where you can basically read a little blurb about it and then to the actual draft.
I see Clay County's is 2012 is when it was last done.
Yep.
How often does the state do it?
Well, state statutes and state rules are kind of updated as the legislature sees fit. So sometimes we'll have to do an update or an amendment to the ordinance because a rule has changed or a statute has changed. And so we'd want to update our,
To some sort of significance?
yes, yeah, yep, yep. So it's kind of done like, for example, a prime example of that would have been when cannabis was legalized and they were setting up the basically the regulatory framework for both the use of cannabis and then also the propagation, production, sale of cannabis. We, over the last summer, amended that 2012 ordinance to incorporate that, because that was a big statute change at the state level, so. Yep. So the last time that it was a major overhaul, it's been amended many times since then, but, since 2012, but the last time that there was a major kind of, I would say, overhaul to the entire code, land development code, was in 2012.
It's not like so many years and they do it and then the counties try to follow suit to adopt new stuff.
Nope, there's no really set schedule from the state. Like shoreland rules haven't really been updated since the 90s. Yep. So, any other questions at all?
Well, moving on to new business.
I guess the only thing that I would say for new business, a couple things. I know, well, Joel, with you, it's kind of serving as our interim chair here. There will be elections on the Planning Commission in February. So in March, we'd likely have a new board chair, which very well could be Joel. And so look for that in March. I think with that too, I'm happy to, or if you feel that it's been beneficial to keep doing those, we'll do like a little training every now and then where we'll look at past variances, and we can definitely keep doing that. I think that's been beneficial, so, okay. All right, unless we get as many variance requests as like Becker County, we can keep doing those, so. Yep. And the only other thing I might add is that there's With Ezra Bayer now being the commissioner, there's an opening for a rural resident on our planning commission as well. Yep, they meet at 7. Yep. I think that would be beneficial, yeah, yeah. Yep. So if anyone is interested, or, except Tim, I know you've already Tim served his time. That was a good endorsement of the planning commission.
What is the planning commission, what do they do? What is approving things?
The planning commission is more involved with decisions regarding the conditional or interim use permits, and making recommendations to the board on zoning map amendments and amendments to our zoning ordinance as well. Yep.
Find out what's going on in the county. I never knew that much stuff was going on.
Yeah. Yep, you ultimately kind of have that body is kind of the deciding body on some of the more major land use decisions that happen in Clay County.
Please be sure to use your microphones.
If you're involved with like developments and stuff like that, how would you avoid conflict of interest?
So in statute, if you're involved in developments, you technically wouldn't be able to serve on the planning commission.
At all?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I'd
Yep.
probably be out then.
Yep.
However, there's been realtors, active realtors that have served on
Yes.
the planning commission. So what is your definition of a developer?
I could see a realtor that'd be more vague, but, yeah, I intend to be involved with actual development of land in the future.
Yep.
So, probably best to steer clear.
Well, and you are rural and you are east of 9,
I am, but
so you're in West Becker, so you qualify.
I don't need no fingers getting pointed at me for.
Yeah, I would say if you're actively involved in development, have been, or are interested in doing so, it's probably a good idea to.
Yeah, because that goes before that. That's.
Yeah, a lot of those
My
decisions.
development went before them, didn't it? Is that?
Yep, yep,
Oh, okay, yeah.
yep. Yep. Any other questions for me at all? All right.
Okay, hearing no questions and no other business, look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to approve?
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.